In a small community named Doha, where the aroma of spices lingered in the air and the sounds of laughter filled the streets, Chizoba and Iberi wandered hand in hand through the vibrant market. Amidst the colorful displays of fruits and fabrics, their laughter intertwined with lively chatter of vendors. Chizoba, a stammerer, shy and reserved from a humble background, often found herself in the shadow of her best friend Ebere. Growing up in a modest household, led by her father, who was hailed as a hero for his leadership of the Midnight Vigilante in Doha town, Chizoba learned the virtues of humility and dedication from a young age. She admired her father's bravery, maintaining peace and quiet in their community, but she herself preferred the quiet solitude of introspection. Meanwhile, Ebere, a smart, witty and outgoing girl, hailed from an average background, her parents working tirelessly to provide her and her brother with the best education they could afford. With a sophisticated manner of speech and an outgoing nature, Ebere exuded confidence and charm. Despite their differences, Chizoba and Ebere shared a remarkable bond that transcended their contrasting backgrounds. Chizoba looked up to Ebere for validation because of her speech impediment. She saw in Ebere the woman she wished she could be. Their friendship brought their families closer together, bridging the gap between their worlds with understanding and acceptance. As they navigated the ups and downs of teenage life, Chizoba leaned on Ebere for support, finding strength in her friend's unwavering presence. And when love unexpectedly entered their lives, their bond faced its greatest test yet. One fateful day, as Ebere sat at a shade close to her father's carpentry store, a handsome man named Tobichukwu caught Ebere's eye. She knew he was new to town because, in a close-knit community like Doha, newcomers were easily noticeable. Unlike the simple-looking men in Doha, Tobichukwu exuded a certain charm and sophistication that set him apart. His intelligent conversation and confident appearance commanded attention wherever he went, and Ebere found herself drawn to him almost instantly. "Good morning, sir. You look lost. How may I be of help to you?" Ebere greeted him with a warm smile, her curiosity piqued, trying to look composed. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm a journalist. I've been gathering intel on Doha community, but it seems not much happens here," Tobichukwu replied with a chuckle, his eyes twinkling with amazement. Ebere couldn't help but be captivated by his presence. "Well, Doha is a small town, and we tend to protect our own. To really enjoy Doha and gain its people's trust, you must live among us," she explained, her admiration for Tobichukwu growing with each passing moment. Just as they were engrossed in their conversation, Chizoba entered the scene, her presence causing a momentary pause in time. Oblivious to Tobi's presence, she danced freely towards Ebere, making funny faces as she approached her. Her carefree spirit brought a smile to Tobi's face. Feeling embarrassed, Ebere attempted to subtly suggest that Chizoba excuse herself, but Tobichukwu insisted that she stayed. As they continued to spend time together, exploring the sights and sound of Doha, Ebere couldn't shake the feeling of being a third wheel. It became increasingly evident that Tobichukwu's interests lay elsewhere, with Chizoba. Despite her own growing feelings for Tobichukwu, Ebere couldn't deny the deep bond between him and her best friend. And as she struggled with her emotions, she found herself torn between her loyalty for Chizoba and her own desires. As Chizoba and Tobichukwu's romance bloomed like a vibrant flower adorning the town square, Ebere remained the ever-supportive friend, cheering them on from the sidelines. Together, they shared lazy afternoons, picnicking by the river, and stealing kisses beneath the shade of the huge mango tree, their love unfolding in the midst of Doha's enchanting beauty. However, amidst the joy of her friend's newfound love, a shadow lingered in the depths of Ebere's heart. Watching Chizoba and Tobichuku's romance unfold stirred feelings of longing and disconnect within her own soul. Despite her best efforts to push aside her jealousy, Ebere couldn't help but yearn for the kind of love and happiness that seemed to come so effortlessly to her friend. Meanwhile, Chizoba's insecurities surfaced. Her ability to communicate or express herself freely in her relationship with Tobichuku was a huge struggle. Feeling inadequate compared to Tobichuku's educated demeanor, Chizoba often turned to Ebere for help. She would ask her friend to write love notes on her behalf, relying heavily on Ebere's support, especially during misunderstandings with Tobichuku. In Chizoba's eyes, Tobichuku's level of education seemed to create a barrier between them, making her doubt whether he could truly understand her. Doha's town hall was the only place with a landline, and because of the long queues, Chizoba and Tobe had fixed times when he could call so they could speak for hours every day. Unbeknownst to Chizoba, as Ebere penned love notes and stood in for her in moments of emotional expression, she poured out her own hidden emotions. While Chizoba believed Ebere was merely helping her, in reality, Ebere was struggling with her own unspoken desires and feelings for Tobichuku. Despite the inner wars she fought, Ebere remained steadfast in her support for her friend, masking her own yearnings beneath her unwavering loyalty. She longed to be the one, wrapped in Tobe's arms, to feel the warmth of his embrace and the sweetness of his kisses. As weeks turned into months and months into years, Tobichuku returned to Doha with the intention of claiming Chizoba as his bride. The exchange of love notes between them had become a constant source of connection, weaving a tapestry of memories and shared experiences that Tobichuku eagerly anticipated revisiting. In his final letter, he had expressed his intent to return with his people to formalize their relationship, igniting a mix of excitement within Chizoba. However, for Ebere, Tobichuku's impending arrival stirred a different set of emotions. Each love note exchange between Chizoba and Tobichuku had etched itself into her heart, intertwining her feelings with the blossoming romance of her friend. Despite her efforts to push aside her own desires, Ebere couldn't shake the feeling that her emotions were entangled in the relationship between Tobichuku and Chizoba. As Chizoba's wedding day approached, Ebere found herself consumed by conflicting emotions. While she wanted nothing more than for her friend to be happy, a dangerous desire of possessing everything Chizoba held dear began to take root within her. Unbeknownst to Chizoba, Ebere's envy simmered beneath the surface, threatening to unravel the bond they had spent a lifetime building. As the day of the wedding dawned, the vibrant town of Doha buzzed with anticipation and excitement. Beneath the sprawling branches of the mango tree, friends and family gathered to celebrate the union of Chizoba and Tobichuku. The air was filled with the sound of traditional music and joyful laughter, creating an atmosphere of love and happiness. Yet, amidst these festivities, Ebere's heart weighed heavy with turmoil. She stood by Chizoba's side as she watched her best friend exchange vows with Tobichuku. The realization that she may never have the chance to express her own feelings to Tobichuku weighed heavily upon her, casting a shadow over the joyous occasion. She forced a smile on her lips, masking the bitterness that simmered beneath the surface. But deep down, a seed of resentment had taken root in her soul. As days passed and Chizoba settled into married life with Tobe, Ebere found herself consumed by jealousy. She would listen with forced enthusiasm as Chizoba would call her every day at the town hall's landline to fill her in on the happenings of her new home, share tales of domestic bliss and struggles, Tobe's romantic gestures, what gifts Tobe got for her, and so on. Unable to bear the constant reminders of what she desired but couldn't have, Ebere began to distance herself from Chizoba, struggling so hard to mask her envy. Concerned by Ebere's distant demeanor, Chizoba decided to speak to Toby and ask a favor. My darling husband, I wanted to ask a favor from you, Chizoba spoke softly to Toby. My love, ask me of anything and it shall be yours, Toby teased in response. I miss my sister Ibere. We used to be inseparable back in Doha, and now, with me married, she feels lonely. I want her to move in with us for a while. Perhaps you could introduce her to some of your friends, Chizoba added. Although Toby wasn't entirely thrilled with the idea, feeling they were still in their honeymoon phase of their marriage, he reluctantly agreed, not wanting to disappoint his beloved wife. Soon, Iberi moved into the guest quarters, and Chizoba eagerly welcomed her into their home, thrilled to have her best friend close by. Toby quickly noticed a shift in Chizoba's demeanor. Her spirit seemed more vibrant, and she appeared happier than ever. But as days turned into weeks, Toby began to feel suffocated by the constant presence of both women. Their togetherness became overwhelming, with Chizoba and Iberi seemingly inseparable. They would eat together, style their hair the same way, wear matching clothes, and even prepare meals together, leaving Toby feeling like a third wheel in his own home. Frustrated by the lack of alone time with his wife, Toby attempted to speak with Chizoba privately, but their conversations were often interrupted by Iberi, who would demand to know what they were discussing. Despite his annoyance, Toby tolerated the intrusion, wanting nothing more than to see his wife happy. However, things took a darker turn when Toby realized that there was no longer any secrets between himself and Chizoba. She felt the need to relay every discussion they had, and perhaps even their intimate moments, to Iberi. This breach of privacy left Toby feeling vulnerable and exposed. As tensions between households mounted, Iberi found a way to insert herself in every argument and disagreement the couple had, further straining their relationship. Despite his growing frustration, Toby knew he needed to find a way to address the situation before it tore his family apart. 3 years passed, and Iberi showed no signs of leaving the comfort of Chizoba and Toby's home, despite numerous attempts by the couple to encourage her to find her own path. Each time Chizoba and Toby introduced her to potential suitors, hoping she would find companionship and independence, Iberi turned them down without hesitation. Despite their best efforts, Iberi remained firmly rooted in their lives, her presence casting a shadow over their once harmonious home. Toby felt increasingly suffocated by her constant presence, longing for the privacy and intimacy they once shared before Iberi entered their lives. Unlike Chizoba, who was oblivious to the harm Iberi's presence brought. As time went on, Iberi's refusal to leave became a source of tension and resentment within the household. Toby found himself walking on eggshells, afraid to voice his frustration for fear of causing further conflict. But despite their growing frustration, they felt a sense of responsibility for her well-being, knowing that she had nowhere else to turn. One fateful morning, Toby woke up to find Chizoba unusually quiet and withdrawn. Concerned, he approached her and gently asked what was troubling her. As he drew closer, he noticed she was burning up with fever. With a sense of urgency, he helped her back in bed. Immediately, he called their family doctor, Dr. Dede, to check on her. As Dr. Dede emerged from Chizoba's room, with a smile on his face, the atmosphere in the household shifted dramatically. Oga, calm down. Your wife is 6 weeks pregnant. The news unleashed a flood of emotions, washing away the worries and concerns that had plagued them for so long. Joy and excitement filled the air as Toby enveloped Chizoba in a tight embrace, his heart overflowing with happiness. But amidst this celebration, Toby's voice held a note of caution. We must be careful this time, he reminded Chizoba, his concern evident in his words. You know we lost 2 pregnancies already years back. I don't want you stressing yourself again. Toby's words served as a reminder of the challenges they had faced in the past, and the importance of taking precautions to ensure the health and well-being of their unborn child. He knew that Chizoba's well-being was paramount, and he was grateful for Ibere's presence to help ease the burden of household chores and responsibilities. As Ibere walked into the silent atmosphere of the house, her heart racing with concern, she was greeted with Tobey's warm smile, but beneath it, she sensed an underlying tension. He led her to Chizoba, who was still resting in bed, her face flushed with excitement. Ibere's worry deepened as she wondered what transpired in her absence, but before she could voice her concerns, Chizoba's joyful announcement filled the room with laughter. "You'll soon be an aunt, Ibere. I'm pregnant," Chizoba exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Despite her efforts to hide her true feelings, Iberi struggled to maintain her composure. She forced a smile and hugged Chizoba tightly, but inside, a storm of emotions raged within her. Jealousy, resentment, and bitterness threatened to consume her, but she pushed them aside, unwilling to dampen Chizoba's joyous moment. As Chizoba and Iberi embraced, Tobe observed the exchange with a growing sense of unease. He could sense Iberi's discomfort, and it troubled him deeply. Excusing himself from the room, he made his way outside to ponder on his observation, determined to uncover the root of Iberi's unease. Alone with his thoughts, Tobe couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Iberi's reaction. He vowed to delve deeper into the matter, knowing that whatever lay beneath the surface could have far-reaching implications for their family's future. Meanwhile, inside the house, Chizoba and Iberi reveled in the joy of the moment, their laughter echoing through the walls as they celebrated the new life growing within Chizoba's womb. Suddenly, Iberi interjected with an Igbo proverb. "Until our eyes see 3 months, we cannot celebrate yet." As Chizoba laughed off Iberi's caution about celebrating the pregnancy too soon, Iberi's mind churned with dark thoughts. How could Chizoba be pregnant? It didn't seem fair to Iberi, who harbored feelings of resentment and jealousy towards her friend. As Iberi retreated to her room, she couldn't shake the idea that Chizoba didn't deserve to have Tobe's babies. She paced back and forth, considering what to do to disrupt the pregnancy and reclaim what she believed was rightfully hers. Her thoughts were interrupted by a loud knock on the door, and when she opened it, Tobe stood before her. "Hi, Iberi. I know you must be exhausted from the day's hustle," he said kindly. Iberi forced a smile and invited him into her room, but her facade quickly crumbled when Tobe mentioned Chizoba's morning sickness. His concern for her sister only fueled Iberi's resentment, and she could barely contain her disgust as she reluctantly agreed to help. With Tobe's growing career leading him on more frequent business trips, each one prolonging his time away from home, he immersed himself in his work. Chizoba's insecurities intensified. She struggled to maintain her sense of self-confidence, feeling out of place at Tobe's business gatherings, particularly due to her speech impediment. Fearing judgment from Tobe's colleagues and unable to bear the discomfort of social interactions, Chizoba withdrew into herself, preferring the solace of their home. In her desperation to numb her growing fears, she turned to Iberi for support. She began to rely on her friend to accompany Tobe to his business functions, hoping that Iberi's presence would offer reassurance and keep a watchful eye on Tobechukwu's interactions in her absence. Yet, little did Chizoba realize that in her quest of security, she was feeding into the web of mistrust and manipulation woven by Iberi, further entangling herself in a web of deceit and heartache. With Iberi's feelings for Tobe growing into an obsession, she decided to sort out a herbalist who promised to help her concoct a potion for inducing a miscarriage. "All you need is 2 drops into the meal, and the pregnancy is gone," the old woman assured Iberi. Filled with a sense of hope and determination, Iberi returned home with the deadly concoction, intent on carrying out her plan. But as she prepared to administer the potion into Chizoba's soup, her heart raced with fear at the thought of getting caught. Suddenly, Chizoba walked into the kitchen, catching Iberi off guard. In a panic frenzy, Ebere accidentally spilled the entire content of the bottle into the soup. With a forced smile, she offered Chizoba the tainted meal, hoping against hope that her friend wouldn't suspect anything amidst. Grateful for Ebere's gesture, Chizoba thanked her and retreated to her room to eat. Unaware of the danger lurking within her meal, she consumed the poisoned soup, oblivious to the sinister intentions of her once trusted friend. This will be the end of part 1 of this story. I'll further back this section up with an African adage that goes like this: too much of anything is bad, but too much of good food will kill you. This proverb emphasizes the idea that even something beneficial, when taken to excess, can lead to harm. In the context of this story, Chizoba's tendency to share every detail of her life with Ebere, while initially stemming from a place of trust and companionship, ultimately led to a breakdown in privacy and boundaries. This oversharing fueled Ebere's envy and manipulation, ultimately resulting in dire consequences for both Chizoba and her unborn child. It serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of maintaining a healthy balance in relationships and being mindful of the information we share with others. This proverb suggests that individuals, especially when influenced by close relationships, tend to emulate the behaviors and attitude of those they admire or spend time with. It's like walking in someone else's footsteps, learning from their actions, and gradually adopting similar patterns of behavior. As Chizoba continually recounts Tobichukwu's romantic gestures, expressions of love, and other positive qualities, Ebere began to see him through her friend's eyes. This constant exposure to Tobichukwu's admirable traits, coupled with Ebere's own admiration for Chizoba, led her to develop strong feelings for Tobichukwu herself. Moreover, Chizoba's sharing unintentionally created a sense of intimacy between Ebere and Tobichukwu. As Ebere became more familiar with Tobichukwu's character and actions, she started to emotionally connect to him, even though her feelings initially stemmed from friendship with Chizoba rather than any direct interaction with Tobichukwu. Overall, this proverb highlights the idea that our relationship and the information we absorb can significantly impact our perceptions, emotions, and even our actions, sometimes leading us down unexpected paths or influencing our feelings towards others. Please comment on what you learned and what you would have done differently. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to watch out for part 2. Until next time, bye!